Hello everybody out there and welcome back to another Dark Avenger Comic Book review coming at you every single week, 52 weeks in a year. And unfortunately this is another late episode. This is a trend that's been going on since episode 290. I'm really hoping with only 5 episodes left. You're actually getting better with these, I will say that. He's getting better with these finally, but they're still going off the table. 5 episodes left. This is episode 295. We got 5 more episodes to go, and because this is late, episode 296 books are already here. So really we have 4 more episodes to go. Hopefully we can get on track. We got on track with the indie reviews. It's the big 2, and to be honest, there's a lot to read. That's why. Our schedules have been hectic. Mine has been hectic since last summer. Michael's has been up and down, and now it's on a regular, at least you're on a regular basis, so at least
I hope it stays that way.
Right, but the schedule's still busy nonetheless.
Oh, yeah,
so
of course.
I keep emphasizing at the end of the summer things will get better. I will explain that obviously at the end of the summer, and announcements will be made obviously during 300. But I really am fighting. We are fighting the hardest we can, because even if we have to do a double review, we will do 299 and 300 in the same weekend. We will get those books reviewed for 300 on that weekend.
Let's just hope it doesn't come to that.
It won't. We'll, even if we have to do, if we have to take, you know, we'll take steps to make sure that that doesn't happen. Even if we have to do 290.
I'm sorry. That
even
just
if we have
came
to
in my
do
head.
299 on a Wednesday or on a Thursday, we will make sure that we give ourselves at least a little time.
Yeah. So
we can have time on Friday when we get the books to read them by that weekend. There's also something else to note. I will mention that in the haul video, which will follow this video. We did not shoot that yet. I can't, for some reason, record out of sync. So we're doing this, and then right from here, we're literally just shifting over to Comic Book Corner to do the haul video, guys. So you're going to see me in the exact same attire, so don't be too surprised. Anyway, let's get into the books this week, because we got a lot.
And before we get into that, these release
on
June 24, 2015, the last week of June.
That's right, we're in July now, so hopefully everybody's having a really happy 4th of July in case we don't get the indie review up. No, the indie review won't be up on time. Oh, the haul video. We'll talk about that on the haul video again. Teen Titans issue number 9. I read the special digitally, and Superboy's now back with the Teen Titans. However, he is wrongfully accused of killing a group of people, and it turns out those people were Durlans, and it's all a mistake. But now Superboy has reached the top wanted, the most wanted list. So the Teen Titans, along with Red Robin, of course, hide Superboy out, and you have Star Labs trying to locate Superboy also, and they're led by Manchester Black. Cassie joined them, Wonder Girl's with them, the new Power Girl's with them, and Bart's with them. Now, guys, for those of you that don't know, I dropped Teen Titans in the last volume, maybe right before the last issue of the Kid Flash story arc, where they were in the future. I couldn't hold on to it anymore. Superboy officially left the team. He had died during that Superman crossover. So I stopped reading Teen Titans, just like Jeff Johns' run. Now with Superboy back, that's why I jumped back into Teen Titans. I tried issue 1 of this volume, I didn't feel appealing enough to keep, and now I'm back 8 issues later. So Superboy needs to spread his wings and fly a little bit, because he's getting cabin fever. So while Red Robin stays behind with, starts with a C, I can't remember her name. Well, I gotta show you guys the artwork anyway. I love the artwork in Teen Titans. At least that's the one thing that stayed the same. What's her name? Chimera. So I love the artwork in this book. Chimera kind of is still on Earth because A, she's trapped, and B, she wants to prove Superboy's innocence before she leaves. So the rest of the Titans are out. They have kind of a cabin fever too, so they go out and they just go chill for a little bit and see Chicago. They're staying right now at Beast Boy's family's penthouse in Chicago. So some people see them and they ask for autographs. It's the first time the Teen Titans aren't really hated, or, you know, people are against the Teen Titans in the new DCU. So they kind of get a little bit, I'm not excited, but, you know, they like being, you know, the popular teens now, because they've always been like the teens everybody's been chasing after. Then something happens and a person gets pushed onto the train tracks, and the Titans can't get there in time, but Superboy can. He saves the girl, but remember, most wanted list. And Star Labs finds him also. So they send or Manchester Black sends his people out to capture Superboy. Superboy goes back to the penthouse. They follow Superboy to the penthouse, and guess what? Cassie busts down the door and says, "Give Superboy." Hand over Superboy now. I'm saying this only once. So apparently, as much as a friend she is to them, because she actually says, "We're not in this to, I don't want to hurt them. Let me deal with this." And then she busts through the door and actually says, "Hand over Superboy now." Yeah. If that's friendly, I'd hate to see Cassie when she's not friendly. I don't like the new 52 Teen Titans. It's taking me a very... there are a lot of things I've warmed up to with the new 52. A lot of things, really. But it's taken me forever to warm up to the Teen Titans. Deathstroke, number 7. Deathstroke is on a new contract. He's dirt broke. So he gets a contract from, I cannot say his name, Hepatalis or whatever. And it's on Danger Island, I believe. Is it Danger? Oh no, Themyscira. Well, the book opens up on a different, where is it? Danger Island, is it? Anyway, it's some island, and he's training to use the sword, this god sword, so to speak. Sound familiar? Spawn. And he's under contract to kill a god that was imprisoned. They want him dead now. So there is a scene with Rose also. I'm not going to spoil that, but let's just say Rose definitely does not like her father at all. And so he goes to Themyscira. He finds his target, sort of. There's kind of a little bit of a twist to it. And in doing something, no comment what, it raises the attention of one Wonder Woman. To be continued. Believe it or not, guys, dialogue aside, because the dialogue definitely gave me a couple of minutes of read. That's how quick this story was. I feel like a lot of the books this week from DC and Marvel were very quick reads. It was point A to point B. Superman 41, same thing. Now this takes place before Action Comics, before Superman Batman, and before Batman Wonder Woman. This is how Superman lost his powers, and how Lois revealed to the world that Clark Kent was Superman. And in this book we find out somebody knows Clark is Superman. First he gives Clark an anonymous tip about the mayor who just won the electorals for Metropolis. It turns out the mayor is trafficking weapons. Very strong weapons. And when Jimmy and Clark first show up at this place, this guy to escape releases this huge monster, and of course Superman uses his Nova power, and for X amount of time he is unable to be super anymore. He's lost most of his abilities right now. It's going to take him a little bit of time to recharge. They go back to the Daily Planet. Lois figures out who the person was. It was the mayor, and they make top story, surprise, cheers all around. But then the person who gave him that anonymous tip comes back and actually says, "I need you to do something else." And Clark isn't so keen on doing that, and he sends him a website. And he says, "I know who you are. So you do what I say or else the world's going to find out." He thinks it's Jimmy's fault. It's not. He actually starts to blame himself, saying, "I've been using this stupid Nova power. Maybe I've been slowing down. People are able to catch me more." So he lets the girl get taken away by the FBI. However, he says, "I did what you want, now leave me alone." He's like, "No, we're just getting started, Clark." And that's when Clark goes to save the girl. Remember, he's still powerless at this point. And they get away, and they leave you off with kind of a cliffhanger where, what do you call it? It looks like Clark is dead, but there is absolutely no way he's dead, because this takes place in the past. So there's no way that Clark died. Did he get hurt? Possibly, but there's no way he died. The Flash issue 41. This was the quickest read ever. It opens up with Flash fighting this huge armored guy. And it's not even about Flash. Edibar Twine shows up and actually says, "They think you're the fastest man alive, but they haven't seen me yet." And they won't, but they will very soon. And then he runs off. but Flash got a glimmer of it, and he gets knocked out. Then we go to earlier on in the day where Flash finally has news to his father. He goes to his father early and says, I think I know who did it, and it involves the name Twain, and so he knows, I hope I'm saying his name right, Twain's name, and the father's like, where did you hear that name? Who told you that? Did you tell anybody? Don't tell anybody. Stop. I killed your mother. And he walks away. And then he goes back into the prison, and this prisoner says, the professor says, sends his regards, and he hasn't forgotten about you or your boy. In other words, threatening him. So, long story short, I'm cutting the middle dialogue. The guy that we saw in the beginning of the issue is attacking Central City. Flash shows up. They show the little blur again with Professor Zoom. Flash gets hit again, and he takes out the robot. However, back at the prison, the story ends with the father basically breaking out of jail to go protect his son because the professor's back, and we all know Professor Edward Twain, what he does, he's the Reverse Flash. So now the father is going to protect his son because the Reverse Flash is basically going to be coming after him. Point A to point B, however, this was really good. A really great setup for what's to come in the Flash. Love the artwork. The costume, it's going to take a little getting used to this new costume. They did do little tweaks here and there with DCU, and one of them was the Flash's new costume. It's going to take a little getting used to it, the little extras that they put in, but not in a bad way. It's pretty good still. And finally, this week, I left the #1 for last. Green Lantern Lost Army issue #1. This was an even quicker read. John, Kilowog, oh god, I forgot the other girl's name, but thank God they have the little names here. Arissa, Xro, 26, and Krona. That's right, you heard me right. Krona are in unknown space. They were sent there by unknown forces, and now they're trapped, and there is no connection to Mogo, to the Green Lantern, the power battery, anything. So when their rings run out, and they're fighting these things called the Cleaners, which basically want to erase them.
Cleaners?
Yeah, they want to erase them from space. They fight them, they get away. There's a little flashback to John when he was in the army on Earth, and then they have some telepathy back and forth about Krona. Apparently, this Krona is not the Krona that they fought in the past. This guy is either from a different dimension, or he's from the past. They don't know if he's from the past, if he's what do you call it? If he's from another world, another dimension, another Earth, maybe another reality, But what they do know is they don't trust him because they know what Krona's true nature is. However, Krona looks very trustworthy in this book, but of course he's very slick. So they find some lanterns. They ended up dead. They were dead, and Krona is trying to locate for the lanterns the the Mogo and the power battery, and that's when guess who shows up? Guy Gardner, but he's not wielding the red power ring. He's wielding both the red and green power ring. So he is a red. Look at the costume.
Wow.
Apparently he can. So that's why he's got a red-green costume. So now he's in the mix, and all of them are lost in space. He's asking what Krona's doing there. John explains everything to him, and now they come face to face with this. The end. So now they're hoping to find a way home. Guy is there also hoping to find a way home. He said he was on Earth, and then all of a sudden, whoosh, he was out in space, in unknown space over here. What is Krona's true intention? Is he behind their being sent to this unknown space? What's the machine we saw at the end of this book? Lots of questions left unanswered in a good way. This Lantern book has me interested and wanting to come back for the next issue. John and Guy Gardner are an awesome team. The only person they're missing is Kyle, but I guess we're not going to be getting anything from Kyle for a while. I don't know. There's nothing from Kyle right now. Well, anyway, we are now in Marvel. That was all of DC. And Mike, you're starting us off. We have 4 Marvel books each, so 8 Marvel books altogether. You have yours, and it's a #1.
Yeah, Korvac Saga, issue #1. The story was kind of iffy for me.
Okay.
To a little bit of its low point. Like, we have the Guardian.
I just want to remind you, though, all of these stories are only until November. Once Secret Wars is over, anything that we read here is not undone, but it's basically done. It's going to end, and then we get the new number ones.
So basically, it starts off where the Guardians are going to this man who's talking about, you know...
Oh, Guardians 3000, not the Guardians of the Galaxy original.
No, these Guardians.
Yeah, Guardians 3000.
The Guardians 3000, and it has Starhawk as the leader. So they go to this man who they feel is like a huge threat, like he could be a monster, and he's talking about stars, and stars are going to probably play a big role in the story, and I'll tell you how. So he turns into the monster. By the way, it all works a little bit sketchy, kind of, but it was still a good read. And his name is Emil Blonsky, by the way, who turned into the monster. And they fight off against him, and it's like really, really hard to get him down. And then we are starting to wonder, they're starting to wonder, why are these people at the same place where Emil Blonsky is acting the way it is? So there's this little bit of infection that's going on, like a weaponized Mimi or something, which is kind of sort of like a virus. And they want to just find out, more about this. So they go to these Avengers right here to meet up with them, to team up with them to see, what's going on and everything. So, they just have a little bit of a talk, and then Michael Korvac is talking about, how everything is going to, how they're going to fight over this, and they also bring in Baron Simon Williams, who is also talking about everything else that's been going on.
Oh, Wonder Man. Okay.
Yeah, and then we have Lady Cardina, who actually has a little bit of a scene right here. Now, remember what I said about the stars in the first issue, that this guy wanted to wonder where they are? Well, seriously, she wants to know, where are the stars literally in the sky? With that black mist over it.
So will you be coming back for the next issue?
Just to see what the whole stars thing and everything.
What is Korvac, though? Who is Korvac?
Korvac, Michael Korvac is the is this guy right here.
Oh, right. He's Wonder Man, yeah.
Yeah, Wonder Man, yeah. And he is team
I forgot
member.
His last name.
So it's really just finding about this virus and why people are acting the way it is. And I think that the mist in the sky is going to probably have a little bit of a thing why. But I'll just see the next issue. If it doesn't harm me, then it goes away.
Let's see if you feel that way about the next book. The Infinity Gauntlet issue number 2. I like this issue, but it felt very, again, point A to point B. The mom is back! Hooray! And the father and sister are okay, but unfortunately the grandfather is dead. And the mother wants to enlist her children and husband into the Nova Corps. She gives them all stars, and the husband's like, your kids aren't soldiers. And the mother's like, we don't have time for this. The bugs are here. I'm home. This is how we're going to survive. And the father's like, I did a really good job. And she's like, we'll talk more later. We need to move. So basically the entire family gets anointed in a really quick fashion to the Nova Corps. And the older sister is the first one to really jump on it. And I love how the younger sisters are like, can the dog be? And the mom's like, I don't think it'll work for the dog. And the dog becomes a Nova anyway, so... The mom stands corrected. So we've got the Nova Corps family apparently now, and she says there's a stronghold a few clicks away. So they head that way, and that's when the daughter tells the mother she found the gem, the Infinity Gem, and it turns out it's the Mind Stone. So the mother takes the Mind Stone, and they get attacked again, and things don't go according. That they're not trained as Novas, so. They're failing epically at using their abilities or their Nova shots or anything. So the mom uses the Mind Stone and it scares the bugs away. By the way, I love how the mom also says the dog will never be able to fly. And in the very next panel, the dog starts to fly and she's like, I need to stop doubting that dog. I just found that hilarious. So they get to the stronghold. The stronghold's destroyed. However, they did have another one of the gems which is now gone. And they also had their own makeshift gauntlet to wield the gems. So now they're back to square one with just one gem, and now they have to find where the stolen gem was, as well as the rest of the Infinity Gems. We do get a scene with Gamora and Star-Lord, and it turns out Star-Lord wasn't the reason for the attack on the Nova base. However, he did steal the Infinity Gem from the base. Then we get a little bit of a like a epilogue or a future take on what happens with Thanos. It turns out all of the family is dead except one person. We don't know which person survived, but they swear that they're going to destroy Thanos because he's the reason why the family's dead. Thanos has 2 of the gems. The other person has another 2 of the gems. So there is still the 5th one that's missing. However, he's apparently failed multiple times, and every single time the younger one comes back to kill the older one and take the time gem. Apparently this time, the older one says, I think not, it's time for a new strategy, and he ends up killing his younger version, and apparently he might be going back to them. We don't know. But apparently something's going to go on where Thanos is going to try to trick the family into giving him all the gems, and it turns out it's Thanos' fault that the bugs are attacking Earth or targeted Earth in the first place, and he's also the reason why in the future, the unseen or yet to be seen future, why the whole family except for one member dies, and we don't know which member that is. It could be the older sister, which I think it is, or the younger sister. It's definitely one of the girls. So the mother and father probably are dead, or maybe not the mother, but the father is definitely dead, and it's one of the 3 others that survives and actually fights Thanos and almost wins until Thanos escapes.
What time are we at?
I will tell you now.
Just to be sure. Well, while you're doing that...
oh, we have time.
Yeah. Eve is for Extinction, issue number 1.
The reason I got the figure cover, because I swore I wasn't going to do this, because if I got one, I probably would have wanted them all. But the only reason I got this one, A, is because it was the Cyclops one, and B, because I wasn't sure if I was going to like it. I didn't like it, so I gave it to Mike, and now we go to you.
Yeah, so the Eve for Extinction story is basically we have these people with mutant powers, and the squadron team, I guess they're called the Worthy, wanted to take the powers away from the mutants. And then we all know that could only alert one person who doesn't like mutants being threatened, which is Magneto and his X-Men team.
I didn't like the art. I'm
The
sorry
art
for
was kind of
interrupting
a little
Yeah, I did not like it at all. I didn't like Herman. I didn't like... there was so many things I just did not like about this book.
Yeah, and then when Cyclops and Emma Frost came in, it was a little bit too late, and so they're just having a little bit of a thing going on, so then they just left. Meanwhile, we get Quentin Quire, who talks with Magneto a little bit, and Magneto actually shows Quentin Quire that there is a coma of where the Jean Grey Phoenix Force is contained in that bubble right there.
Cocoon.
Or cocoon, so to say.
Are those sperm?
Yeah, these are well, they're called really the yellow ones, the X gene. Basically, Beast was...
So the X gene's in the sperm.
Yeah, but basically, he's telling these 2 people who, you know, are about the children, how they get like all these mutant powers, and it's basically evolution itself is evolving, and these yellow ones are the ones that give them powers, so to say, of whichever mutant power it is. Then we have a little bit of a Cyclops and Emma Frost moment. Apparently Cyclops could change the channel now with his blinker, which is funny because with the use of Emma Frost's help. And I know, right? It's so weird.
Okay, that's just not actually.
You know? And then we have Quentin Quire, who is pushing the team a little harder. And also, Cyclops goes to Wolverine, has a talk with him about, you know, other stuff. You could definitely read the book to find that out. And Magneto tells also Esme about the cocoon that he told Quentin Quire that he said he never told anybody. So that's something. And then we get a little bit of Beast seeing himself, actually. So it like goes all around. Basically, the X-Men, Cyclops, Emma Frost, and Wolverine, they're just going into a place where they could get their powers back, and they meet up with this character right here. And I'm guessing his name is X because it says X versus X, so...
Mr. X.
Yeah, Mr. X. So, okay. Maybe the artwork could change a little bit.
No.
But the story was pretty good. It's just... I just find it really funny how now Cyclops could change things with his blinker.
Don't
Because of Emma Frost.
Don't do this. Don't do this to me.
That's what the book said.
Planet Hulk issue number 2, and as I was hoping, and as we all were hoping, while Cap is still the spotlight character or the main character, we got Cap teaming up with Doc Green, who makes references to all the Captain Americas he's ever worked with, including Falcon Cap. So I wonder if Doc Green remembers a little bit more than he's putting on. But anyway, he saved Captain America in the last issue, and now he's teaming up with Captain America to bring him to the Mudland so he can kill the Red King? Yeah, the Red King. And Cap and him kind of don't... There's a flashback about Cap and Bucky, by the way, from where he's from. And it turns out that Sam Wilson was the first super soldier from this Captain America's universe, apparently. So you could tell that Cap doesn't really get along with Doc Green. I like Doc Green's dialogue, and I like how in the beginning of the book, Captain America thought he was one of the stupid Hulks. And then he just opens up and says... oh, what did he say in the opening? It was hilarious, because I think even Cap was shocked. Well, when he explains, he has kind of like that little shocked look on his face, that the Hulk's actually talking in complete sentences. The Hulk recites a poem, they talk about Doom for a bit, they talk about Bucky, they talk about how Captain America's going to get Bucky back, kill the Red King, get Bucky back, and then fight to stop Doom. For some reason, and I love how the Hulk kind of laughs at that. Then they get attacked. The Tyrannosaurus disappears. They fall into a river, which turns into an ocean, and then they see this big, giant Hulk-ish monster. Kind of leads into the cover a little bit. To be continued. I like Doc Green. I like the not-so-chemistry between Doc Green and Captain America, or however you want to call him, Captain or Captain Rogers, whatever, Steve Rogers. But anyway, he calls him Captain in this book, so it's Captain America. I'm enjoying Planet Hulk. It's a really nice book. It's interesting as Cap traverses the Greenland with Doc Green. Thank you. As he traverses the Greenland with Doc Green, we're learning more about the Greenland, and he's getting closer to finding the Red King and saving Bucky, if Bucky's there to begin with. Definitely a book I'm enjoying a lot. And with that alarm, give us just 2 seconds, and we will be right back with the rest of this week's comics. Alright, and we're back. This one's yours, because I'm doing Marvel Zombies. So I figured you'd take this one since it involves Marvel Zombies, and then we'll both figure out who's getting... Excuse me, the third one later.
Battleworld Age of Ultron versus Marvel Zombies, issue number 1. And it really focuses a lot on Hank Pym, actually.
Yes, it does.
He
created Ultron.
Right, and from what we read in the Ultron, he died there in the last issue, or proclaimed to be dead.
No, that was the Rage of Ultron. Remember the graphic novel?
Oh, so that was a different universe.
That was before the incursion happened. That was before all this.
Oh, okay. Well, basically, it starts off where there's this girl who the zombies want to try to attack, but then we get the Ultrons that come in, and then
we got zombies versus Ultrons
at the beginning of there. And then the next one just focuses just on just Hank Pym. After the whole fight ensues between all this and everything, and was really intense fight. We got like this long dialogue where Hank's talking with
Morbius.
Yeah, Morbius, and I forgot what her name was.
Hill, Director Hill, is it?
I think it's Director Hill. Well, yeah. I'm guessing that's what her name was. Like there was like a long, huge dialogue that happened here. But yeah. Anyway, just long story short, it's just basically about what's been happening, what's been going on with all the zombies saying that humans aren't perfect and whatnot. It was, you just gotta read it just to see that. So then Hank does a little bit of investigation and sees the Rhino and I don't know who he looks like as the zombies that come to attack him.
I think it's the Owl.
Yeah, and the people who come to save him are 3 people. That
From S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, which are Vision,
the Human Torch, but not
Jim
Johnny
Hammond
Storm.
and Simon Williams, who actually come to save him. And they basically say, Hank Pym, we could show you how'd you like to change the world. Or we want to ask you a question, how would you like to change the world?
So Hank Pym's probably going to be working with S.H.I.E.L.D.
So I was really amazed with this issue, just to see Hank Pym.
I knew you'd like it. I had a feeling you would.
Yeah. So I'll be definitely come back for the next issue of that.
This book, Daredevil issue 16. Daredevil makes Kingpin an offer. Even though this is a week late, and I'm sure you can find the spoiler anywhere, let's just say he offers the Kingpin everything. Everything, include his life, basically. As long as the Kingpin keeps Foggy, Kristen, and the mayor of California, not the mayor, the deputy chief, if he keeps them safe and makes all the bad stuff that just happened in the previous issue thanks to the Shroud go away. And you see that Kingpin's kind of toying with Daredevil a little bit. He doesn't like, but Matt said you can have whatever you want, but Daredevil's staying. And that's when Kingpin sends this guy, I forgot who it was from the previous issue, the previous volume. After Foggy and Kristen, the Shroud is still looking for his wife. He finds his wife, and Daredevil kind of finds his wife. He gives Kingpin till midnight, or I'm sorry, until noon to figure out if he'll accept Matt's offer or not. The Shroud goes to find his wife. Daredevil tries to interfere to save her. It doesn't work, and it turns out that Kingpin is working with, I believe, the Owl, or he's working with the Shroud. And this was all planned to begin with. The plan was to get Daredevil to go to Kingpin, and I don't know if Kingpin was the orchestrator of the whole thing, or if he's just a part of the whole thing. It's just wow, and hopefully, at least by this volume's end, Kingpin won't win in the end, and won't get what Matt offered him, somehow. This is amazing. Unfortunately, it has been announced in the Marvel #1s, and obviously Daredevil is going to end soon, maybe in another month or so. It's going to end before Secret Wars is over, but when Secret Wars ends and we go back to the new Marvel universe, the new Marvel U, or the all-new, all-different Marvel universe, Charles Soule will be taking over Daredevil. Mark Waid will be stepping down from Daredevil because Mark Waid is going to the Avengers.
Right.
I'm really looking forward to the Avengers now, but I feel bad because Mark Waid is the reason I got into Daredevil. I never would have tried Daredevil if not for Mark Waid. I had no interest ever in reading Daredevil. I have old comics. When one of my friends was selling his collection, or not selling it, getting rid of it, I took all the heroes I knew, and Daredevil was one of the books. Have I ever touched them other than bringing them home and putting them in a box somewhere? No. And some of them are really popular comics too. I even read Shadowland, and again, nothing spoke to me. Mark Waid really brought me into the Daredevil universe, and I hope, and I'm almost sure that Charles Soule will continue my love for Daredevil. I just hope that he follows in the footsteps, not, you know, in the shadow, but at least takes some of the things Mark Waid did and brings it to his version of Daredevil.
Alright. My best book of the week, The Punisher, issue number 19. And from what we saw from the last issue, he got shot by, I believe her name was Officer Stone. I can't remember what her name was, but he actually, for some reason, he's alive and well and everything. And he goes to the Howling Commandos to go to Tikrit, because there are these terrorists who have the Americans hostage. And the Punisher, who, by the way, the artwork's really great, goes after them and says, where are these American hostages? And it's something that talks about the Black Dawn. So he actually wants to find out more information about this Black Dawn, by going to this person that knows about where the Black Dawn terror cell is, because that's where the American hostages are being held captive. So as he's investigating, we get more about, actually we get some about the Shadow Fighters, which are really, really graphic, about which is where the Black Dawn terror cell is. And as he finds out more answers, like the Punisher always does, he finds his way in and knows where he's going. And I like this last page right here, where he has like an electric thing going with his skull, and found where it was. So basically, I felt him being more heroic.
I don't understand how this is the last days of the Punisher and how it's connected to Secret Wars, though. It's really like the same thing. It's the same story. Nothing's talking about an incursion or anything yet.
I don't know, but I saw him more heroic, even though he's an anti-hero with shooting and stuff like that. He looked more heroic in that one, but definite great book of the week.
Last book for me, #1 pick, X-Men 92, issue #1. This is cream pied with 90s. We're talking about Wolverine calling everybody Bub, Cyclops calling everybody Mr., Jubilee being the kid of the group, Rogue going sugar to everything, Gambit being Gambit, Storm being the goddess of weather, and Jean basically just backing Scott up, going, "Oh, Scott," every 2 seconds. This is the 90s team. This is the 90s cartoon that we read. Could you just... Thank you. No, you missed it. Okay. This is the team I watched on TV as a kid. It opens up with them playing laser tag because somebody, Wolverine, destroyed the Danger Room. And Scott gets mad at Wolverine after the laser tag and blames him for it. And Wolverine says, "You know what? I don't got to take this. Goodbye." That's classic Wolverine. That always happens. And then out of nowhere, Sentinels attack. Classic 90s again. And Wolverine comes back to help the team out. And of course, Cyclops doesn't agree with Wolverine's methods, but tough shit, Cyclops, this is Wolverine. But what can you do? And then Baron Robert Kelly shows up and says, "These are rogue Sentinels." Don't worry about it. These are rogue Sentinels, and he didn't do it. You know, there's been a peace between Westchester and the mutant kind ever since the Great War that took place between the X-Men and Magneto and his Brotherhood of Mutants, that the X-Men showed the world, or showed Westchester, that mutants aren't all bad. And unfortunately, the casualty to war, or at least that's what they're saying right now, is Magneto. So Magneto ended up dying, and that's what ended the war. And then they opened up Clear Mountain Institute to institutionalize the evil mutants and hopefully help them mend their ways and bring them back into society as, you know, citizens. And Professor X doesn't buy into that so much. He thinks that something else might be going on. Cyclops wants to be the naive one and believe that Senator Kelly's changed, or now Baron Kelly's changed, and that he's more accepting of mutants. In the end, Cyclops agrees to go, but he says it's his last mission and then he's leaving. Very reminiscent of what happened back in the early 90s when Cyclops actually left the X-Men for a time, or maybe it was the 80s. I don't know. But Cyclops did originally leave the X-Men. They go to Clearwater. They get the tour. I'm not going to talk about that. Something doesn't feel right throughout the tour. As a reader, we see this as a lot. I'm talking, there's a lot of dialogue for a first issue. This was one of the first books I read, and this took me the longest out of all these books to read because there's just a lot of talking, so be ready for it. Professor Xavier tries to go to Clear Mountain in the astrological plane to make sure everything's okay. It turns out that... Why? Cassandra Nova expected it. We find out who Cassandra Nova is. Read the book to find out who she is. But she leaves Professor Xavier in a catatonic kind of state, and she tricks the X-Men, and they're all trapped except for Jubilee, who's probably going to be the one that saves them in the next issue or two anyway, because that's how the 90s work. This is very 90s cheesecakey. If you are a fan of the 90s X-Men, the artwork in this book was excellent. The bubs in this book were excellent. it was good. It was nice to see my generation's X-Men. I love Cyclops' uniform in the 90s. This was my definitively favorite X-Men uniform. I'm not a fan of the whole over the face or all over the head except for over here costume. I've always loved this costume. But anyway, beside the costume, this was a really great intro to the 90s X-Men. It's a $5 book, and honestly, out of all the Marvel books, this is the first $5 book that I got, at least that I've noticed, that did not have a free digital download code. This is the only one this week that didn't have a free digital download code in it, which I find very strange. So hopefully we'll find out why, or maybe it was a mistake on Marvel's part. Maybe they didn't want the first issue of the 92 X-Men to go out. I don't know. Whatever it was, maybe it's all the $5 books and I'm just not noticing it till now. Excellent book. One of my favorite books from this week. One of my recommendations from this week. Loved it. Can't explain how much I love this book. With that, that's it for this comic review, guys. As always, don't forget to check out Comic Frontline, the Frontline Gaming Zone, and Zone4Podcast.com. Together we are your #1 source for comic-related news, reviews, and a whole bunch more. Guys, Comic Related has made its announcement that after 10 years, they will be closing shop. I understand Comic Related will be closing most likely before my 300th comic review hits, because that's going to be 4 weeks from now. That's a month from now. This has been in Sentinel's arms for a very long time, at least for the past 100 episodes, at least. I will not be taking down the Comic Related logo, regardless of what status Comic Related is in, until after 300. This logo will remain on my comic reviews, my big 2 comic reviews background, until we hit 300. This will not leave the background until then. It's been with me since 200 at least, I believe, and it will remain with me at least until 300, regardless of what the status of Comic Related is. But it was announced, and I will be talking about my thoughts and memories on Comic Related in Outside the Pages, which will go up most likely after, well, yeah, after the comic book haul, which will follow this video, which we are going to go shoot right after this review. But this will remain in my background until 300. After 300, unfortunately, the Comic Related logo will be unfortunately retired, and there will be certain changes. I don't want to, again, this gives away too much already of what I would, certain changes that were going to happen at 300, but after 300 this will be no longer in the background. It's a sad time to see Comic Related go, but we will push forward and we will make everybody who works at Comic Related, Chuck, John, and Brent works with us. John and Brent and me are Zone 4, and Chuck is all, everybody. We'll talk. I don't want to give away Outside the Pages either, but we'll make Comic Related proud through Comic Frontline and through our individual stuff that ends up on comicfrontline.com anyway. So with that, you can put that back now.
Oh, right.
And with that, that's it for this comic review. Take care, everybody. I'll see you guys literally up next in the weekly comic book haul. Take care, keep reading, keep collecting, and we'll see you guys really soon.
There, everyone.